I kissed the Blarney. We were just talking about kissing the Blarney Stone.
That sounds so unhygienic.
You have to lean backwards and angle yourself down and then kiss the Blarney Stone.
Why do you have to lean backwards?
Because it's kind of hanging underneath the top of a castle in Ireland. You've got to lean back and kiss it.
That sounds very dangerous and very unhygienic.
You kind of almost shimmy down and they pin your legs down so you don't fall off the castle.
Someone has to have fallen off.
And there's just a queue of Americans queuing up to kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yeah,
I guess during COVID you probably weren't allowed to kiss it. You just had to kind of wink at it or something. From
a distance. Wink in the gun.
I winked at the Blarney Stone.
I did duck lips to the Blarney Stone. Yeah.
Anyway, this show isn't about Blarney Stones or other.
It's not even about Canadian politics.
So
not right now.
No, it's about Canadian spies are boring, and so we halfway through. We've only just got to the Cold War. That's how good I was at research.
That's pretty good.
It wasn't just all about the Cold War.
Thank you.
It is now.
Oh, okay.
Well, at least the next few are. Well, actually, no. There's plenty of other post-Cold War stuff too.
Sweet.
So,
entertain me, Reese. Entertain me. Tell me what we got.
Episode 5.
Give it to me. Give it to me hard. Give it to
Canada's
me fast.
weapons of mass destruction.
That was very loud.
Canada's weapons of mass destruction.
Can you sing it?
Canada's weapons of mass destruction.
And can you go back and edit in yourself with like a reverb and like...
No.
No? Okay.
The technology hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah,
so
that's fair
maybe
enough.
in 5 years.
Canada's weapons of mass destruction.
So did you think Canada had weapons of mass destruction?
I mean, it's not surprising.
Really?
No. It's like, every fucking country on the planet has these. So
it
would be more surprising if we didn't. And then I wouldn't believe it.
So nukes.
Yeah,
Nukes.
Yeah.
Canada didn't develop its own nukes, but it didn't mind keeping other people safe. So...
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So between 1963 and 1984, Canada fielded 4 different tactical nuclear weapons systems.
That's it.
And deployed several hundred nuclear warheads.
Deployed them?
As in, like, they were ready to launch from Canada or, like, kept safe in Canada.
I thought deployed meant, like, you launched
them.
No,
deployed as in they were operationally ready. They didn't actually set them off.
Isn't that ready for deployment?
No, you're deployed into a war zone. It doesn't mean you're necessarily shooting your gun. You just sat there waiting for someone to pop their head up over a bush and then so you can take the top off it.
With a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, they were deployed, ready to go and ready to launch.
As soon as someone stuck their head out from a bush.
They would throw a nuclear missile at them. Like a javelin.
Right.
Everyone died. It wasn't effective, but...
Really effective.
So the first as you can guess, most of the weapons were American. So the first US nuclear weapon came to Canada in 1950, when the
first what?
Nuclear weapon came to Canada in 1950.
Do you know, side note, you probably do you know the largest non-nuclear man-made explosion in Canada?
Was that the Halifax explosion?
It was.
Yeah.
Very good.
Topped only by the Hiroshima bomb and Nagasaki.
Well, that was nuclear.
That was nuclear, yeah. So, but it wasn't a nuclear bomb. It was just a ship full of explosives.
It was. It was the largest man-made non-nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we should cover that in another episode, even though it's not really political. It's just fucking fascinating.
It is really interesting. And the tsunami and then the blizzard that followed.
Yeah, you know about that. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah, it's
We'll do a special episode on the.
I'd love to. It's
not
such
now,
a
though.
No,
let's get back to Spies.
Yeah, let's do Spies. Okay, yeah.
Put a pin in it.
Okay, fine.
So the first nuclear weapon came to Canada in 1950 when the United States Air Force Strategic Air Command stationed 11 Model 1561 Fat Man atomic bombs at Goose.
What does that have to do with spies, though?
Wait, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Goose Bay.
I love that I ask you that every episode, and you're like,
let's just go to do politics. Just wait. So CFB Goose Bay in Newfoundland, Labrador had 11 Fat Man bombs. And that's not a bomb
in
that dropped
Newfoundland.
In Newfoundland, yeah. So it was an aircraft staging location for RAF Force and SAC. The bombers were landed, crews relieved, and aircraft refueled or repaired, all without having to return to bases in the US, which were an additional 1,500 more flying miles away from the bombers' targets. So Canada, since the 50s, had basically been like, hey, if you're going to go do a bombing run on Russia, you can go from Newfoundland, and we'll keep your bombs here too.
Okay.
So, but Canada had also been involved in the Manhattan Project, as we talked in an episode recently.
We never really got into that, though.
Yeah, so Canada provided raw material, including uranium ore from a northern mine. It doesn't say where. There's a lot of north in Canada. It just says northern mine. Try looking for that. Without any more information. Which would have been used in the construction of the first atom bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And at least one lead scientist worked in Los Alamos, hosting the Montreal laboratory, which did work with tube alloys, which was related to...
Tube alloys?
I don't know. Canada, this isn't a science show. Oh, I'm actually hosting a science show.
What?
I know nothing about science.
Oh, you told me, that's right.
I'm doing the voiceover for a science show called Beyond Research. That's all about Canadian scientific research, and I know nothing about...
You told me about this. Can you do the intro again for me?
You're listening. Welcome to Beyond Research. So if you want to hear me do a serious voiceover about Canadian scientific research...
It's not that serious, though, is it?
It is serious. It's a serious show. It's not a comedy show.
No, but your voice isn't that serious when you're doing
it. If you
it.
know me from this show, you'll probably find it weird. If you've never heard me before, you'll just go, oh, it's a British dude. Anyway, so Canada would continue to supply fissionable material to the US and other allies throughout the Cold War, even though Canada never developed its own nuclear weapons. NATO allies like France and the United Kingdom did. So Canada basically gave them all the stuff they needed to build their nukes.
Wow.
So, and also Canada, then this is where the spying comes in. So obviously there was a lot of activity. There were bombs here. They were selling materials. So Canada also there was a lot of focus of spying going on. And Canada actually, a really successful spy known as Kitty Harris was...
Where are they? These names are amazing.
Kitty Harris. So she was a Soviet secret agent. Her code
nobody's named Kitty anymore.
I know.
Was that a nickname or was that her actual legal name?
I think her name was Catherine.
Oh,
anyway,
so it was a nickname.
Yeah, Catherine.
All right.
Yeah,
let's call her Kitty. I like that better.
So she was born into a poor Polish Jewish family in London, Ontario, sometime between 1893 and 1902. So that's somewhere in a 9-year period she was born. There's no records of her birth.
Oh.
And she was basically recruited by the Soviet Union to spy on the Manhattan Project. So she worked in a cigar factory and then a clothing factory, and she joined the union and was actually involved. Remember, we did the Winnipeg General Strike? Remember that episode?
Yes.
She was involved in that.
Oh, wow.
And then she moved to Chicago and joined the Communist Party of the USA. And then she was taken out to be trained, and she trained in Berlin and Moscow to be a spy. And then she was dropped into Mexico City.
But she was trained in Berlin and Moscow to be a spy for
Russia. For the Soviet Union, sorry. And so then she was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she had a safe house within a drugstore that was helping ferry spies around, trying to keep an eye on the Manhattan Project.
For Russian
For
spies.
Russia, yeah. And this was in 1943, 2 years before Igor.
So she's a Russian spy.
She's a Russian spy.
We're going to get to where she defects, I'm assuming.
No, she didn't.
She never becomes a Canadian spy.
She never became a Canadian spy.
Isn't this about Canadian spies?
So, no. Yeah, but she was a Canadian spy. She just wasn't spying for Canada.
That's what a Canadian spy is.
No, well, yeah, she's a Canadian spy. She was just... Anyway.
Hold on. No, let's... She's a spy in Canada. It doesn't make her a Canadian spy.
Well, yeah, she was born in Canada. She's a Canadian spy. She's not spying for Canada.
Oh.
I don't know why this is so hard to get ahead of.
Okay, no, so hold on. She's a Canadian that was a spy for Russia.
Soviet, yeah, for Russia, yeah.
Who happened to be a Canadian.
not allowed to talk
was she
about...
spying on her own country?
Yes.
Why?
Because she
Why wasn't she a Canadian spy? Like a Canadian spy?
Because
a Canadian spying
I think she believed in communism and Marxism, so she was spying on behalf of that ideology in what she would consider a capitalist society.
So last episode, we talked about a Russian...
Igor Gazenko.
A Russian who started spying on his own country in Canada, and now we're talking about a Canadian who started spying on her own country for Russia.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going full circle. Gotcha. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, but then you'd have you'd have double agents who'd spy, and then they'd have double agents who'd also secretly defect, and then let them know what they were doing in their defection to the other people.
My brain is not...
Spying is confusing.
Right.
Spying hurts my brain. That's another t-shirt. There we go. She ran a safe house within a drugstore. So she helped. She actually she had quite a sad ending. She died in the 60s. She had problems with alcohol, but she eventually returned to Russia. So Canada was holding nuclear devices. It was being spied on, but also, and this is kind of going off the whole spy story thing.
That's when you love to do this.
But this is just fascinating. Now, I've had a mild obsession with this for years, and I was pitching a documentary about a story related to this in Savannah, Georgia, in a town called Tibby. And basically, I don't know if you know this, but there probably are about a dozen.
Guessing I don't.
How many nuclear weapons do you think have gone missing in the world?
Oh my God. Oh, that's a frightening thought to even entertain. God, I don't know.
There are about a dozen.
Gee. That's not great.
People consistently lose nuclear weapons.
Yeah, that's not. Get your shit together. Come on. What the?
So, and Canada's lost a few.
Oh my God! Of course we have.
So, February the 13th, 1950, British Columbia. A simulated nuclear bomb containing TNT and uranium, but without the plutonium needed to create a nuclear explosion, was proactively dumped in the Pacific Ocean after a B-36 bomber's engines caught fire during a test of its ability to carry nuclear payloads. The crew reported releasing the weapon out of concern for the amount of TNT inside alone before they bailed out of the aircraft. The bomber crashed at an unknown location in Canada. 4 years later, the wreckage was found and searched, but no bomb was found.
Oh my God.
The weapon was briefly thought
Did it not explode on impact?
No, it
with all the TNT and whatnot?
Well, maybe it did, but they never found anything. So the weapon was briefly thought to have been located by a civilian diver in 2016 near Pitt Island, but it was subsequently found not to be the case.
So some guy out there has a nuclear bomb on his mantelpiece, like just...
Yeah, also maybe someone's made a kid's play park out of it.
Right.
And they jump up and down on it and kick the tip of it. So...
He shoots, he scores. Another beautiful
Advert.
ad. It's an ad.
Adverts.
Ad. I mean, it's
We'll be
excitement. Yay, ad.
We'll be back after these messages of ads.
Ads.
And then another US Air Force B-36 bomber was flying a simulated combat mission from Alaska to Fort Worth, Texas, carrying one weapon containing a dummy warhead. Even though it was a dummy warhead, the warhead contained conventional explosives and natural uranium, but it didn't have the plutonium core. You'll notice they always say, "Oh, we lost this nuclear weapon, but don't worry, it didn't have a plutonium core." They always say that. But why would they be flying around nuclear weapons that you can't use?
Right.
I always wonder whether they just go, "Oh shit, let's just tell them it didn't have." They always say it didn't have a plutonium core, which is coincidentally happened with every
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
every
If it's
nuclear weapon. There's a great book called "Chasing Loose Nukes."
I mean, if you think about it, it kind of does make sense. If you're going to be transporting a nuke to remove the one thing that's necessary to make it a nuclear bomb, because anything could happen during transportation, right? So that's kind of smart. Okay, we're going to give you everything except for the plutonium. Do you have plutonium? Great. Once the nuclear bomb arrives at your location, you can just plop that sucker in and you've got a nuke.
I guess so.
Right? So
I guess they're trying to reasure us.
I mean, honestly, it's not something that I would disbelieve. It sounds like a safe way to transport a nuke.
There's a former pilot who I've actually spoken to a couple of times, but his book is called Chasing Loose Nukes, and that's what he did for a passion, was chasing nuclear weapons that got missing. And he was saying that a plutonium core is about the size of a grapefruit, so it's quite easy to pop it in.
Right. Yeah. So
I've got a bag full of plutonium cores.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
So after 6 hours, the bomber experienced mechanical problems, was forced to shut down 3 of its engines at 12,000 feet. There was icing. They were worried about icing on the plane, jeopardizing a safe landing, and they jettisoned. The weapon was jettisoned over the Pacific Ocean. The weapon's high explosives detonated upon impact with a bright visible flash. All 16 crew members and 1 passenger were able to parachute from the plane, and 12 were subsequently rescued from Princess Royal Island. I guess the rest died. They didn't say that.
Jeez.
It's sad. And Quebec. Oh, God, it's a French one. Okay. Rivière-du-Loup.
Yeah, you got it.
Rivière du Loup.
Yeah. Well
God,
done.
I
Well
did it.
done.
I'm getting better at this.
You are.
French Canadians. I'm trying my best, and today was a big step forward.
You shall be very proud of Reese right now.
So a non-nuclear detonation of an atomic bomb happened, returning one of several US Mark IV nuclear bombs secretly deployed in Canada. A US Air Force B-50 bomber had engine trouble and jettisoned the weapon at 10,500 feet. The crew set the bomb to self-destruct at 2,500
Oh my
foot
God.
and dropped it over the St. Lawrence River. The explosion shook area residents and scattered nearly
This wasn't an actual nuclear bomb. It was a bomb without the...
It was a bomb full of uranium that they detonated.
But it wasn't a nuclear bomb.
It was a nuclear bomb.
It was.
But it was a non-nuclear explosion of a nuclear bomb.
So they blew up the bomb without the bomb blowing up.
So they blew up a nuclear device, but it wasn't a nuclear explosion.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the explosion shook the
They
area.
wanted to get rid of the bomb without... Right, okay. Yep.
But what happened was it shook the whole area, scared the shit out of residents, and scattered 100 pounds of uranium all over the area.
Oh, that's not good.
And the plutonium core was not in the bomb at the time, as is the story.
That's the story. Did people get radiation sickness?
It didn't say. Maybe they did, and they just.
Oh,
it was a secret. It wasn't supposed to be in Canada.
Speaking of having a large explosion scare the shit out of people, how long did it take you? Because you work downtown Halifax and have for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to not be scared at noon every day when a giant cannon goes shooting above your head? Just for those who don't know, in Halifax and Citadel Hill, every day at the second noon hits, they fire a cannon above everyone's heads. I'm not making this up. And if you're not used to it, it'll scare the bejesus out of you.
I have developed a Pavlovian response where every time it goes off, I start to salivate because it's lunchtime. So every time, if ever there's a war and cannons are going off, I'm just going to be hungry. So that only took about a week. So, yay, lunchtime.
Boom, sandwiches.
Exactly. Who wants pizza? So, and there was another one. I found another one as well, and this was in the Northwest Territories, a Cosmos 954.
This is in the Northwest Territories?
Yeah, a Soviet radar ocean reconnaissance satellite, which was a satellite flying through space with an onboard nuclear reactor. So basically, a nuclear reactor in space.
So it was a satellite powered by a nuclear reactor in space.
It failed.
That's kind of cool.
I would have gone, hey, have you heard of solar panels? So maybe not. It was not time ago. It failed to separate from the booster and broke up over re-entry over western and northern Canada. Fuel was spread over a wide area and some radioactive pieces were recovered. The Soviet Union eventually paid the Canadian government $3 million Canadian for expenses related to the crash.
Wow.
Which is, yeah. So, and also, the politics was crazy at the time. So,
where are the spies coming into this one?
Well, have you ever heard of, everyone was, a lot of people, when you've seen Doctor Strangelove.
I have not,
and
actually.
the idea, so there was this idea that there was this dead man switch. The idea that there was this doomsday device so that if a nuclear bomb went off, and it was theoretical, Russia would release all of its nuclear weapons and just destroy the world.
Hold on, what happened?
So
this is true?
No, this was the theory. So
this is in a movie, or
this was the political doctrine at the time. So
in reality, okay.
Yeah, have you ever heard of MAD, mutually assured destruction?
I have not.
So the idea,
I have heard of that term, but I don't know what it means. Yeah.
Well, and this was Prime Minister Brian Mulroney basically said that that the Soviet Union regarded Canada as part of the United States. So essentially, if America decided to nuke Russia, Canada would face incineration without representation. So they wouldn't get to decide whether they were going to be part of a nuclear war, but Russia would have targeted a bunch of Canadian sites anyway.
Wow.
So they believed that mutually assured destruction was Canada's best interest. So it was the Cold War doctrine that held that as long as both the US and the USSR possessed significant nuclear arsenals, any nuclear war would destroy both nations.
Oh, yeah.
Thereby discouraging either nation from launching a nuclear offensive. So the idea was, we could both kill each other and annihilate the entire world at any moment. So we probably won't do it.
Right.
Which is insane
No, I
to
mean,
think in these days terms. But the crazy part is that there's no thought process, there's no ideology or thought process that goes into that, even though we still have the weapons.
Well, I think we've been trying to get rid of them slowly, but
Everyone still got them.
yeah.
I think South Africa is the only country that gave up nuclear weapons.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah. But also, and this isn't spying, but this is just
This is
stuff
an
I found that
entire
was really
episode on
interesting.
spies that has nothing to do with
We
spies.
did talk Kitty Harris, remember her?
Oh, yes, right. Okay. So it's
Canada, and I looked at other weapons of mass destruction that Canada made. Canada was a major producer and developer of chemical weapons during World War One and World War Two. CFB Suffield became a leading research facility, and thousands of Canadian soldiers were exposed to mustard gas, blister agents, tear gas, and other chemical agents, and some were permanently injured as a result of the tests. Human testing of chemical weapons such as sarin, mustard gas, VX gas continued in Canada until the early 70s, and Canada eventually abandoned them. Canada still employs riot gear agents, so Canada makes a lot of tear gas and pepper spray, non-lethal chemical weapons. And Canada also, in terms of biological weapons, remember those? Canada experimented with anthrax, a botulinum toxin, ricin, rinderpest virus, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, plague, lots of bad things.
Jesus. We experimented with them?
Yeah, like a student in college would experiment with drugs. Canada experimented with biological weapons. But luckily, do you know what they did with them? They got rid of all a ton of unexploded bombs they produced for World War II and other chemical weapons. The 1972 London Convention prohibited further marine dumping of this kind of stuff. But before that, they essentially dumped all of the chemical weapons and a bunch of explosives off the shores of Nova Scotia.
Oh, lovely.
So there's
That's
a big
great.
old pile of
Hold on. Wait a second. Wait. Say that again.
There's a big old pile
Yeah.
of unexploded bombs, shells, bullets.
Are we talking
and
anything
chemical weapons?
Anything radioactive?
No, but just
Are you sure?
Just chemical weapons under the ocean, just off the coast of Nova Scotia.
Wow.
And it says it continues to bring concern to local communities and the fishing industry.
Yeah. Fun.
So I realized I just moved next to probably the world's largest slowly rotting pile of explosives and chemical weapons. And a wonderful time was had by all. So
Wow. Okay.
nuclear weapons.
Yay. Yeah. Can we bring it back to Kitty at the end here?
That was it, really.
Just you could just talk about it just make it up. What's her favorite? What was her favorite food? Her color. What's her favorite color?
Red.
Okay, there you go. There we go. Brought it back.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very much.
come back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about
Hold on. Oh, I got an idea.
what? Oh no.
So this is we want a call to action for people, right? So we're going to ask some of our listeners to become spies
Okay.
for us.
This sounds treasonous, but okay.
Go and spy on another podcast
Why?
because it's.
I don't want to start some kind of podcast Cold War.
I think that'd be kind of fun.
Sounds like a shit version of the actual. Just middle-aged white dudes poking like into each other's businesses.
Yeah. Maybe that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't actually. All right, never mind. It was an idea that faded away quickly.
Tell you what, go and spy on something useful. Like I don't know.
Like what? Tell us what your local barista is up to.
Yeah. What's the latest trend in coffee in your city? Spy on that.
Follow them home.
Take
Take a pair of binoculars. Watch them through their bedroom windows while
Are they
they sleep.
practicing at all hours on making those funny patterns with the foam?
Send us the photos.
Send us the photos. And so we can learn how to make fancy coffees with pictures of leaves on the top.
Yep.
Latte art. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Imagine if you were I am Halifax's best latte artist. Imagine that.
I guess it's not.
And when you die, nobody remembers you.
Thank you so much for listening. We're halfway through the
I'm
Canadian
sorry,
Spies.
latte artists. I do appreciate it. A latte with art on top tastes better.
It does.
as long as they wash their hands.
Right. Because
Cool,
they do
cool.
draw out with just their fingertips. You know this, right?
Please come back tomorrow. Follow us on Instagram. Spy on baristas. That's
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Great. Bye.
Okay, bye.